I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. I'm fired up and I'm ready to go. This is the Billionaire Brown experience. Let's go.
So by eating the grass-fed and the animals that are getting a natural diet like they were meant to, you've eliminated the hormones, the antibiotics, the stress hormones that they're putting out because they're so miserable. All of that stuff is gone. Milk. Milk is a kryptonite for me. Go ahead.
Oh, go with the milk real quick.
Okay. I can't have milk anymore, and cheese was probably my most favorite thing in the world, but it's one of my food sensitivities. But what I learned about milk is you want full fat and not low fat, not non-fat. What the milk companies are doing is taking the best part of the milk away when it's low fat and non-fat that then they get, and they're selling you this watery crud, and so that it's not watering gray and ugly, they are doing some kind of blow drying process with drying milk to make it fatten up, and that's causing cholesterol in our bodies. And then the poor cow is getting the antibiotics, the bovine hormone growth, all kinds of stuff put in him to keep him alive as long as possible to produce the milk, so you're getting all of that stuff in your milk. So again, it's important to drink pastured milk, and ideally it's important to drink raw milk. That was a shocker to me because we were told that raw milk was what was making us sick 100 years ago. Well, it's not. And so to get the best nutrition without all of the crud that they're putting in the milk, to have organic raw milk is ideal. And then that also continues into your butters and your cheeses. Now, I can't have dairy, but I can have something called ghee. Ghee is clarified butter, which means they've taken the milk solids out. They've taken out the whey and the casein, which means that I'm left just with the good fat, and that's a particularly good fat for the body. So I use a lot of ghee when I cook. And it has the butter flavor, so it's really a nice thing. You can make your own ghee from organic butter. I buy ghee, but it's a nice addition to my diet.
How do you spell
oils?
Ghee?
Can we go into oils since I talked about ghee?
Absolutely. Let's go into oils. How do you spell ghee? Say it again.
G-H-E-E.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, do the oils.
G-H-E-E. Okay. The first shocker with oils, again, we all know olive oil is good.
Hold on one second. This is
it feels good to feel good.
Cheryl Meyer with It Feels Good to Feel Good. All right, let's go with the oils.
Okay. We all know that olive oil is good for us, right?
Absolutely.
What we don't know is the mafia has gotten involved in the oil industry. So they're cutting our olive oil with the bad oils. Now, let me go back a minute. When I was a kid, suddenly we stopped using the oils that our grandparents had used, and we started using all of the soy oils, the corn oils, the safflower oils. That was what we were going to be using. That was what was going to be good for us. Well, it ends up that those were all wrong. What we need to do is go back to the good oils, which are coconut oil, olive oil that's not been cut with the bad oils. We need to go, I'm losing it here. What do I use? I use avocado oil. I don't use any of those vegetable oils because they're not good for my body, including canola oil. And then I'll go back to the olive oil thought. Canola oil was named canola because it comes from Canada, and they thought they could make it sound healthy by making it rhyme with granola. But canola is not good for us, and most of it is genetically modified. And it's in everything. Even if I go to a restaurant and I ask for olive oil, they give me an olive oil canola oil blend. I don't want the canola oil. I make them bring me the bottle so I can see it. And if it has the canola oil in it, I don't use it. All right. So let's go back to olive oil. The mafia got involved with the Spanish and the Italian olive oil industries, and they started cutting it with the bad oils. So what you're really getting isn't olive oil. It's a little bit of olive oil with a lot of other vegetable oils. So it's not so good for you anymore. California is a producer of olive oil. And so they immediately made it that if it is California and it's labeled California, it is pure olive oil. So your first step to know you get olive oil that's pure olive oil is to buy California olive oil. But the Italians and the Spanish weren't so dumb. They weren't going to give away this whole industry to California. So they are now literally tracking olives from the farm to the bottle. And then it's getting a little tiny certification on the label that they are guaranteeing that this is really olive oil. But a lot of the olive oil that's less expensive at the grocery store is this cut olive oil that the mafia industry has gotten involved with. It's really, it was mind-boggling to find out all this stuff. I was oblivious to it. And that's one reason that I wrote the book. I wanted to write a book that was a manual of everything I had discovered. Because, yes, you can find this all on the internet, but I didn't even know what I was looking for in the beginning. And it took me 5 years to find all this stuff. So I really want to share it with everybody because I'm passionate that if we get the right building tools, we can own our own health and turn our pathetic health system around. And the insurance companies would probably be happy because we won't be sick all the time anymore. And it's really important to do this if you're raising children because all of these toxins are going to accumulate over time, toxic load, and make our children sicker and sicker. So
okay, so you're getting me excited now. And now okay. I eat pretty healthy, and I eat pretty organically.
Good.
But you're now that you're educating me, I'm starting to feel good about feeling good.
Good.
So I'm on it. So let's go to this children thing.
Okay.
You're talking about children.
Yeah, I should have pulled it.
Younger.
There's been two things. There is a group called Moms Across America. They'd be a great group to follow. They are really going after all the chemicals being sprayed on our food, but they're also a good place to get information about all the increases in diseases in young children that are happening as a result of all of these toxins. So they're a great group to follow. You can follow them on Facebook. You can follow them online. And they'd be a great group to support. And I do have a group of what organizations need our help so that they can continue the fight in the back of my book. I have incredible references in the back of my book so that people can get involved. And I have a little thing that I want you to be an army of one and join me. Because if we vote with our dollars, we can change this. We cannot count on our government protecting us. They were doing a pathetic job in the first place, and now they are eliminating what little regulation we had. And that really depressed me in the beginning, and then I realized I can control what goes into my body, and I can vote with my dollars. And if we all vote with our dollars, the money will shift the industries to making healthier food, and that has begun to happen. So it's not only important that you do this for your own body, but we need to shift our whole food system so that we start getting healthier choices going forward.
So children are really going to die before their parents? Is that what's going on?
First time. The children being born now are not going to make it as long as me.
Can you expound on that?
So, there's just been a series of studies that have come out that show that because of the toxins, they're not gonna make it as long. And there are childhood diseases. Diabetes is wildly on the rise in children, and
I know a kid around here that has diabetes. That's so crazy.
Yeah, it is, and I have diabetes. It can be controlled with food. I am very careful how much sugar I eat, and even sugars that are in that, carbohydrates make sugar. You can control it, but it's by controlling it with food. And yes, there are medications, but with every medication, there's a whole chapter in my book on medications. They do something good for you, but they take something away from you. So the more that you can control by what you're putting into your body, the better off you're going to be to live a long life.
Okay, now when you're talking about this children things and these kids, what ages are you talking about? Like what ages?
I think that diabetes is starting as early as 6, 7, and 8. And I'm not talking childhood diabetes, which is type 1 diabetes. although I think that is also on the rise. I'm talking type 2 diabetes, which is, it's not childhood onset diabetes. It's what was used to only be found in adults. And it's when you're making your insulin. Diabetes is when the insulin goes knocking on the cell wall and the cell can't let it in anymore. So you've got to lower your insulin because you got too much in your system. And it starts to create havoc in your liver and your body. So you need to make your... Now, sugar. Let's talk about sugar because that's a big problem, especially with kids. But it's a big problem with everyone. Sugar is as addictive as cocaine. If they did a study where they gave rats cocaine, and then they took it away from them and they gave them the sugar. Woo! The rats thought, great, I can have this instead. This is fantastic. Then they took the sugar away and they gave them a choice. They chose the sugar. It lights up the same part of the brain that cocaine does. And so we get addicted to it. And we can't control that we want it. And there's something else that happens with sugar. It lights up a part of the brain that controls appetite. So if we're eating sugar, this little thing doesn't function correctly. So even after you've eaten a gigantic Thanksgiving dinner, you're hungry. And you're hungry because this little section of your brain can't figure out that you're full because it's been turned off by your sugar intake. So it's god-awful to detox after sugar. I'm not going to lie to you. It took me close to 3 weeks. It was like having a horrible flu. I was in bed. I mean, if I thought I had pain when I started this journey, getting off the sugar, everything in my body hurt. But at the end of the 3 weeks, I was through it. I actually went through a drug detox, and then you don't want it anymore. And then suddenly you're not hungry all the time anymore. It's a really amazing thing. And I can walk into a grocery store now and I can smell sugar down every aisle. I've become extremely sensitive to sugar in the area, but I am not going back. Does that mean I don't use any sugar at all? No, I don't use any corn syrup. I don't use any cane sugar. I don't use any beet sugar. I use small amounts of maple syrup, honey, and coconut sugar. And so it would be an occasional treat for me because I'm diabetic, but I do bake cookies, and I use almond flour and coconut sugar, or almond flour and maple syrup. So I still get some treats, still a good life. It's just they're different than they used to be. And so, and they're delicious. People will love my healthy cookies. They call them my healthy cookies because they're just as delicious as the old ones. They just are using healthier ingredients.
Hey, it feels good to feel good.
Yeah, it does.
All right, here's one. I want to know your take on Steve Jobs is known to be a fruitarian. He was a fruitarian. But yet and still, he passed away, I think it was cancer or something like that.
Yeah, he had pancreatic cancer, which is one of the hardest on the body.
Right. What is there's a lot of controversy going on right now. I don't know if it happened because since he's passed, but I know the past at least year, you go anywhere online or any health community, there's a lot of controversy about, is a fruitarian diet a safe diet?
In my opinion, no. Because what you're not getting is all of the luscious nutrients that come from your vegetables. And really, the centerpiece of your diet needs to be all of those vegetables. That's where the gold mine is. There are nutrients in fruit, but to only eat fruit, he was probably running on way too much sugar in his body. I don't know how much he did because obviously he was thin. But you're taking away from all the abundance that's there to make you healthy, and you're focusing on the most sugary part of that category. So could you have some fruits, and are they good for you? Yes, indeed. But don't take away from the fact that you need all of the wonderful things that come from the vegetables. And amazingly enough, if you have cancer, I just spoke to a cancer symposium. If you have cancer, 50% of them at least should be raw, because that creates an aerobic environment in your body, And cancer can only grow in an anaerobic environment. So you want to eat raw vegetables as well